Hello, London. How are you? Okay, so I'll give you a bit of context of why I'm here. So about a year ago, I came to the first one. So I've been doing Microadventures for about 2 years. I'll tell you a bit about the story in a minute, but I was in work, not working, as you do. I was looking on Eventbrite and I heard Harry put up this event. So that was a while ago. It's great to see the turnout here and also how far we've come, but it's very important what you guys are doing, and also hopefully whatever I can share will also inspire you to actually make the most of your 5 to 9, because as it says here, JP Morgan dictate what I do during 5 to 9, but you have an opportunity to make your 5 to 9 a lot better. So let's get kicking off. Okay, so we're here to talk about Microadventures. So over the next hour and a half, 20 minutes, I'm going to introduce what me, kind of how I came across Microadventures. So I'm a regular person, yeah. So I kind of want to get through work. I want to be successful. I want to have kids, all this type of things. I'm kind of in the Matrix as well. I'm not addicted to the red pills, but I do take them. But we don't have to. I feel we don't have to be dictated by that. We can work, and we can do work really hard, but there is an opportunity to actually have good experiences, and also whenever you one thing I find, so I'll tell you more about that later, but one thing I find, when you embrace adventure, you bring that into your work life actually really changes also. So anyway, so those guys have their own logo, I have my own logo. So if you think about it, here is your 8 hours that you spend at work. And then if you go over here, here's the 16 hours. This is your 5 to 9. So everyone's life is dictated about just the 8 hours there. But we have so much of our life is in here. I was watching Rick and Morty last night. If you've ever seen the pilot, Rick's sitting around the dinner table, and I think he gets in trouble because he took Morty out. And he says, "Hey, what's wrong with going out at nighttime? Because like half of your life is nighttime." But if you think about it, half of your life is the 5 to 9. So here we have your 8 hours. This is for adventure, and this is for the scientists amongst you. This is a micro symbol. And if you flip it on your side, you can see the mountains that we can go and climb, and the rivers we can go and swim. So, as I said, I'm like a lot of you. I did very well at school. Sorry, I forgot to put that in. I did well at school. I went to a decent uni. Did the cycle, Matrix one, so got a good job. So I worked for JP Morgan, and all was good. So I forgot to do a thing. So here's me in my 9 to 5 uniform. Here's me in my adventure. My own logo. So let's get going. But all was well until heartbreaking. I thought I couldn't be loved anymore. My world was shaken apart. Going on was I did want to go on, but it was a very difficult time. So, but luckily and also unluckily, I had a friend. So this is James, and I think this image really dictates how we were feeling. See the beers and just everything broken. So we did feel quite mentally just not happy with things. But me and James, we went to university together. I was actually on this talk, or on this walk we went. He broke up with his girlfriend, I broke up with my girlfriend. I was like, oh, shit, it's all over, guys. No one's ever going to love me again. But I mentioned to him how I heard about Microadventures is through Alistair Humphreys. So he's the goddaddy of it all. And I mentioned, like, a couple of years ago, I heard about Alistair. He goes out like on top of the hill on a Wednesday. I said, what? Who did that? And I think he said, "Mate, we need to do something." I was like, what are we going to do? Why don't we do one of those Microadventures? So, lo and behold, we did. I googled Microadventures in London. This is what came up. So Alistair's written quite a few things. It's quite a good resource to look at. But there's only 2 places that people said you can go. One was, I think we did both of them. This one's down in on your way to Brighton, but the first one we decided to do was in Lea and Sea, and that's out in your Essex. So let me show you a little video. So here's Microadventure in action. Bye. Pretty lost second.
Get through some booze.
I bought the black first. So that's your back at work the next day. So I think that was like on a Tuesday or something. So that was on Lane. So since then, I've done 18. 18 was a couple of weeks ago. So that's over 2 years. That's not much. But what I like to do is capture. So my theory of holidays and experiences is the anticipation is a massive part of it. That anticipation, how we kind of play off one another. And also, a point about James is we were worried, like, oh, shit, what's going to happen? Oh, what if something comes and beats us up? But we're both stubborn to not let the other one get away with not doing it. So having a good friend to keep you accountable is great to have that adventurous life. This one I did with the flatmates. This one I did all over the place. And also, one point, Microadventure season is going to kick in pretty soon. When the time changes, the sunrises are unbelievable. Yeah, so basically why I'm here and what I want to share is I can, with conviction, say Microadventures have changed my life and style. So it definitely changed my life. So not in the fireworks kind of way, but definitely my direction, how I look at things, how I kind of where I want to go, and also the risks I'm willing to take. Because as I'll talk about later, we're kind of holding ourselves back. So to put context to why this image is here, I usually pick up a copy of the Evening Standard on my way commuting out, and it's a good way to get your night started, get your fire going, and get a standard evening on the go. So I'll touch how it's kind of changed my life, what I'll be doing, but why do Microadventures change your life? Not just do you get to escape the city. This is James's second one we did. So this guy picked us up and he was a beekeeper because we were so disorganized we didn't know where we were going. So we said, can you bring us closer to this spot? So he was a beekeeper, dropped us off at the shop, and then, lo and behold, there was his honey there. So little small kind of things happen in these adventures. And that's the beauty of what it's about. So you escape the city, you get to experience the sunset. There's something magical about these things, and we miss them all the time. These happen every day. Caveman TV, so this is a big part. There's something magical about just, and hypnotizing about just watching a fire, sitting there looking at it. Not only the heat that it gives you, but also when you're with friends, it just brings out conversation, different things that are able to happen. As you can see, here's our onion barges that we're heating up. The sunrise, this is probably the best part that I really love about this. The seeing the sunrise, and also this was the first Microadventure I did by myself, and it's something that was really touching. So I was just sitting there by myself, like, what's going on here? But as the sun crept above the trees, there was something magical happened. There was about 30 seconds where the fog just stood maybe 1 or 2 meters above the ground for about 30 seconds, then dispersed and the birds started singing. So this happens every day. This happens all the time, but we often don't allow ourselves to see it. But it's just sort of treated right away. A big thing is jumping in wild water. So Alistair Humphrey says it's good for the soul, and I really believe that. You don't like it at the time, but you really like it afterwards. So jumping in wild water. And also, I've never been on a microadventure where I didn't end up smiling. So if you like to smile, micros are your thing. So I'll refer to them as microadventures, too long to say. So one of the biggest things So that's kind of like, okay, right, you did Microadventure, but for me, what Microadventures really did was change perspective. So it changes perspective on so I was in a heartbroken state. It was like, oh, my life's over, oh God, oh no, everything, what's going on? And whenever I did a Microadventure, I was like, okay, like, what was I really worried about? And there's something about, they call it being grounded, but just being in nature and actually having the energy for it. So, and also, one point I want to get across is how simple things need to be. We always make it more complex, but we were able to sleep. On our first one that we didn't have a mat. All we did was put a bivy bag on top of our sleeping bags and just sat there and experienced the sunset or sunrise when it came up. So I can't come into a room of good-looking, intelligent people without putting a very philosophical quote on it. So this is something that I really stand by. So our man Seneca, he's a Stoic, says we suffer more in our imagination than we ever do in reality. And I believe that is very, very true for a lot of things. A very simple illustration of that is whenever you do a Marco, I was going to, like the pub, yeah, I did a Marco, man, that's how it's going. But the response was, without fail, kind of a default to negative. So it was like, well, why'd you do that? What if it rained? Like, what if a deer came and ate your leg off? What if the missiles about to strike where you're supposed to be? Like, why would you do that? So I was actually, I got a lesson from how people reacted to what I did, because we're blocking ourselves mentally. And that's with anything. Like whenever I broke up with someone, I wasn't actually suffering in reality. A lot of it was mental, but going out and getting away from it, like perspective, is a form of therapy. And it's free, so you're spending a lot of money on nothing. Nature, so I'll touch on this a little brief. This was the tree I was sleeping under. It's not my favorite tree in the world. But our environment, so there's a lot that's going on in the environment, but there's a lot of people that I feel are jumping onto the bandwagon because everyone else is. But seeing really is getting out to nature. So this place is only an hour away from London. It's out towards Essex. So seeing it is believing. So whenever the astronauts saw the world for the first time, they really got a sense they need to save it and we need to do something here. So seeing is believing. And I'll talk about holiday. So I felt I got a holiday, so I had the anticipation, the experience. One big thing about it is if you want to have a long life, it's not really immortality, but it's close to it, is go to different places, see new things, because your brain slows down because you're taking everything in. It's like whenever you're driving a car and you don't know how you got home because you're used to it. Humans are the most adaptable creatures ever. We adapt to every situation. It's like hedonistic adaptation. Whenever you get your pay rise, you get the nicer one. You get a bigger house, you get the better car. So doing a microadventure kills hedonistic adaptation. But one thing, so our environment, seeing is believing, but doing these experiences close to home. For example, so my flatmate Alex, he's kind of spearheading a big movement in the climate change world, actually understanding what our impact is. So one return flight to New York is 106 that number of kilograms of CO2, which is probably as good as not being vegan. Well, I would always recommend showering, but going to McDonald's, but it's putting that perspective. I'm not saying don't fly, because we need to fly, we have ambitions, etc., but maybe substituting one of those out, getting out to somewhere close. It doesn't even have to do microadventures, like going up somewhere within the UK and staycations. So this is another kind of theory thing. But happiness, I believe, equals expectation minus reality. Now, I'm not saying don't have any expectation. So if you want to go on a holiday, like book your train, book somewhere where you want to go. But if we artificially inflate this part comes into play. So it's not defining what adventure is. It's embracing uncertainty. It's whenever, okay, we're going to do micro. The best part, what I love about it is not knowing where you're going to go. You're experiencing something new, you're seeing something different. But it's just so simple, and it's the lack of complexity with it. So oftentimes we set our own expectation. Also, when you go into nature, you're settled. You don't think you're not saying, okay, it has to be this type of way. So a bit of the kind of science behind it. So I was wondering, why did I feel happy after just sleeping on the ground for a night? And one thing that we're realizing about is gradient-based exposure. So this is that our brains actually process natural shapes, so like a tree, a leaf, very differently than we do straight lines, straight edges, because we weren't designed to be in these places. We're seeing increased urbanization. Everyone's moving to the city because we want to be handsome and successful. But we're actually not really getting into the place where we're in nature. We're releasing our calming hormones. So it's a fairly new piece of science, but it's really coming up. It's affecting just the populations. And it's affecting our children, or the children are coming forward. So this is a good point because I'm sure we all remember life without the internet. There's a generation coming that doesn't remember life without an iPhone or anything like that. And we don't understand the effect that will have. So what we're doing here is setting an example. Okay, get out into nature more. And one funny thing was, James, he went to Cornell University to study, and he was telling people about the Microadventures. Probably didn't sound cool. And they're like, "What you just been camping? What are you talking about?" But that highlighted the fact that they were in a place where it's beautiful. There's a lot of space. They didn't have a need for this. There's a need, I believe, in and around London and cities for people to get out. And this is a new term. So I was at a talk by the Wilderness Foundation. They're a foundation based in Essex, and they deal with young people. They're depressed and they have a lot of issues, like us all. But they bring them out into the wilderness, and the effect that they're having is unbelievable. And this hasn't really been defined yet, but I think we were all suffering from it. I was definitely suffering from it. I was telling Harry there, it's easy just to get into the way of things. It's like plain sailing, but we need to diagnose ourselves with getting out into nature, whatever form it is. I recommend Microadventures. Shirin yoku. So you see, if you read Japanese, this is a tree and this is a bat, and this means forest bathing. So the Japanese are always one step ahead of us, and they know that if you like some mental things, some small ailments, they were diagnosed. Just go out and have a big walk in the forest, because I believe they understand the power that is in nature, the power that's in forests. There's a certain energy. I don't want to get too spiritual on it, but there really is, and you can't really explain it. All you're doing is going and sleeping on the ground, but you're like, holy fuck, that's pretty good. Right? So this is going to be pretty abstract. First time trying to explain it, but here we go. So this is my graph that fits together. You can see I work for a bike. So this is kind of how a lot of people live life. It's kind of just striving for it, keeping it going, keeping the car running. But what I think a good quality of life is, put on Microadventures. No, we have a certain quality of life, we appreciate what we have, but we simplify. So you go back to, okay, all I need is a sleeping bag, a bivy bag, I can rest. Like, okay, what was I worried about? But if you're constantly up here, I think the word is basically describes whenever you're playing sail and all's good, a very small thing that happens, it actually, your body reacts to it in a way that it's the worst thing that happens. So that's trouble in paradise, basically. But this delta of appreciation, and I think it's so important to check yourself regularly, to simplify, to get, and how I, through micros, how they relate to this, is just going out, realizing the fun that could be appreciated by doing something simple and also quite cheap. Like most people think of a holiday in Marbella as 2 weeks, like 10 grand, and everything's white and walking around. But the utility you get from holidays can't be accessed for a lot simpler than that. So what do you need from Microadventure? Good question. Not a lot at all. So whenever you're trying to sell a Ferrari, you don't say what the engine is, or like kind of, okay, right, then you do this. You put a very good looking woman in it, you drive it really fast. So to do a Microadventure, you really don't need much at all. I would contest that most of you already have it too. You need a sleeping bag. So you already have one, or your pal already does. And so you need a bivy bag. So I've got, here's one I prepared earlier. This is my bivy bag, so it costs £20. And over the 18 Microadventures, math's not great, but it's probably 1.10. Best of value. You can do it with a tent, but you don't really need to, because just look at the weather and go out in the day. It's not going to rain. And then for luxury, you can get a mat. So on the first Microadventure we didn't have a mat, but I would recommend it. It's a lot better sleep without it. This is Path. He came on his first Microadventure, couldn't get himself a big bag, so he just got a big orange Caribou survival bag for like $320. So you really don't need much. Everything you've got, or you already have a lot of things, but if you're trying to over prepare or kind of this and that, you're wasting energy. Just pack your bag, prepare, and get out, is what I would say. Once you've got all that, this is what you're setting yourself up for. Just something simple, fire, just sleep. It's a bit close, like me and James were friends, but not that friendly. So where do you go? Very simple. Look, London's kind of, there's a lot out there, and there's a great transport link. So there's near transport, you've got a good hilltop view. Near a river is quite good, it looks cool. And also forest, so you want to be in the forest. But if I was still a kind of backer guy, I would have gave you 2 free locations, then made you subscribe for the rest, but here you are. So here's every location within London that I've been at. And we'll hopefully share this after. But north, east, south, and west, there's so much about it. Whenever you do a Microadventure, you're just like, oh, I can sleep there. It's like when you get excited on the tree, you're like, oh, I can do one there, I can do one over there, I can do one there. So it just opens up the possibility. So there's a word of warning with this though. You will notice a renewed mental perspective. You might find yourself talking a lot about it, and your friends might not like you, but for that. So immersion in nature, and you'll see from the rest of the talks, it can be very addictive. It could, as I said, it might change your life, so be very careful. One of the funniest things I really noticed, you're the only person smiling going into work on the commuter train. Also, slowly become open to bigger, more adventurous things, and there's a high chance you might enjoy it. So if you feel like this regularly, and you're in an environment like this, I would recommend doing more of this to feel like that. So back to me, this is what the whole talk's about. So how has Microadventure changed my life? So it changed my life in terms of what's holding me back, what's the worst that can really happen. So in March this year, March 27th, that's going to be my last day at work. So I quit JP Morgan, also quitting London. And then I'm going to walk all the way, get some whiskey up here, swim here. No, I got a sailboat across here, and it only takes 192 hours. So why not? So that's kind of my next thing. If you want to follow what I'll be doing, I don't really know how to do it yet. It's going to basically, each one of these dots is another Microadventure. So follow me if you want at abe.ham. Also, a big recommendation. This is a doorstep mile. This is by Alistair Humphreys. You guys are the perfect audience for this. It's how we live more adventurously in our regular lives. So action time. So we all have nice talks and we feel good, have a beer and stuff, but I want to challenge you for your doorstep mile. So on the 5th of March, 2020, I will be doing a Microadventure, as well as the 19th of March. So 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. So if you want to come, you want to understand what a Microadventure is about, I'm giving you the opportunity to come meet me after. Take a doorstep mile. My name's Abraham, I don't bite that hard. And we'll get details, so I would, if you want to go, I would say, I'm not going to tell you where you're going to be, but just be ready for that day. If the weather changes, it'll be a bit sporadic, but once you get London, you realise what was it really worried about. So, thank you very much. This is the first one. You see how fresh the thing about. But come and see me after. If you want to do Microadventure, 2 opportunities, and let's get going. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thanks very much, Abe. That was yes, there. Can we actually have one more round of applause? That was really good from Abraham. So we're going to do a quick Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for Abe on cracking into your first fight? Who here has done a 5 to 9? Okay, nice. What locations did you guys do out of interest?
Hampstead Heath.
Nice. That was me and
That
Shanza.
one wasn't on the map. Pretty legal, that's right.
Right? Oh, nice, nice.
Central line.
Okay, is there any questions for Abe?
I really enjoyed your talk. I was just wondering what you planning to do. You said you're doing the walk after you quit
After the
work.
walk?
Well, yeah. What's your plan afterwards? You're going to go into like more kind of adventure stuff. As you know, is that something that you're really thinking about getting into now?
Yeah, so how I answer this is more, I make up an answer to make people feel comfortable. So I don't really know. It's been 7 years since I started university, so part of it's just to reconnect. It's basically what I learned through Microadventure is life doesn't need to be as complex as we kind of make it out to be. So it's like, I got caught up in coming to London to try to make it successful too early. So let's just take the time, get the skills, but I've got technology skills, I've got certain skills that are still valuable, so whatever opportunity opens up. So that's what adventure is about. You don't know what's going to happen, but you earnestly expect something good to happen. Fear is earnestly expecting bad things. Faith is earnestly expecting good things.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for great talk.
I made it up by the way.
And thanks for sharing the locations and even also not charging for them. But my question is, I mean, how can you know where you can pitch up tent? I know in Scotland you have the right to roam, but that doesn't exist in England, as far as I'm aware.
Well, I'm Irish, so I don't really mind. But it's a good point, but it's doing it respectfully. And the point of the environment, whenever you're in there, just respect the environment, respect what's going on. If you're doing it under the cover of darkness, no one's going to come and beat you up. But it's basically taking a risk. What's the worst that can happen? If you are doing something illegal, I would recommend probably don't do that. But in the value of just taking a bit of time for yourself, the benefit that you will feel, I would say just please. No one's arrested me yet.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, have you ever even had any problems on the experience from anyone with what you've been doing?
No, so that's one thing I get really annoyed about because I worry about these things. I'm like, so what if this happens, what if this happens? But none of it ever does. It's rare that it does. And take the consequences.
And she had like
of it,
9
you're
of them.
taking a little
And then
risk, but
Larder.
you take more risk if we want to be successful.
Season B.
You take a little bit of risk, but nothing serious as that. And also, if you do it smart and respectfully, nothing bad will happen. A lot of these places I go to are kind of like national parks or like open spaces. So.
Yeah, I can add that me and Kenneth did one actually last February, and we got to Hampstead Heath quite late, and it took a while to get the fire going, and it was really dark, and we thought this looks like a really great spot. We'll set up here. And then we woke up in the morning and it was just a busy dog walking track from a pathway where there were just dogs peeing on our tents. And so, and even that we didn't really get in any trouble. So you're going to struggle to really find anyone. That's the problem with what you're doing. Are there any other questions?
Just more, have you ever gone to a beach?
Yeah, actually, so I didn't get time to
I mean,
go.
just not generally in your life. Like,
No, so I've done, so Microadventures lead to other big things. So I've done, me and my friend, I didn't get time to show up, but we went over to, we were going to the Beth Page Black PGA Championship golf, and it's very expensive to actually go and stay there. So we just did the Microadventure, 10 minutes from the course. Kind of, we got a rowboat, paddled out to like an island. No one was there to annoy us, but one of my favourite ones was when I went to Isla. I just stayed on the beach. There was a bit of whiskey involved, but yeah, just staying on the beach, and it's beautiful, tranquil. Whenever you wake in the morning time, the waves are crystal clear. It's really silent. When the sun comes up, it's just pure. It is. There's certain moments at the end of the day and the start of the day that are magical, but a lot of times we do miss them. But beaches are good.
also, one more thing. How do you deal with the cold? Because I'm really interested in going, but I'm thinking, 2 weeks can be cold. So how do you deal with that?
2 weeks.
As in, haven't you got it in 2 weeks' time?
So
How do you deal with the cold?
scientists have come up with this stuff called sleeping bag. It's really insulating.
Okay, right,
So
yes, that, yeah.
fire does help, but it really isn't cold enough to have any effect on you. Just wear plenty of layers.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So on a point, so anyone who signs up gets a free sticker.
I just have one question. That book that you mentioned, can you tell me the title of it again?
Yeah, so it's called The Doorstep Mile. And also, so whenever we do go these Microadventures, the first 2 people to arrive will get a free copy. But it has a big impact. It's a perfect audience for here. How we can live more adventure while just doing a regular job.
Thank you.
So,
One more question over.
So I've seen Al Humphreys has taken a train from London Evening to get to the Peak District, I think, and do a microadventure overnight. Where's the furthest you've been for a microadventure?
So you kind of need to be logistical about it because you need to get back in the morning, so you don't want to wake up at like 4 a.m. Al, he's a great guy because he can wake up at any time the next morning. The furthest I've been, I'm not sure how many miles, but it was an hour away, but it was, on the map, it looks pretty far. But so the kind of the kind of gauge you want to do, you don't want to be commuting for like more than an hour and a half. But there's so many places that you can get from that. So my process of selecting somewhere, can I get there in an hour and a half? Is there a hill or a river nearby? If not, just go ahead and go. Thank you.
All right, I've got one final question for me personally. What outside like the sleeping bag and the bivvy and the like sleeping mat, what's your kind of favourite bit of kit that you take on a 5 to 9?
A beer? No. You don't really need a lot. So if you're going into, for instance, like the wilderness, do take a few things. I like to take something to eat with. And when you do one, and you don't have something, you know you're going to break it the next time. So I don't really have a favourite piece of kit. So for my walk, I've kind of upgraded to a hammock. And that's pretty legit because you don't really need a mat, and also it opens up so much more terrain. But probably just a good jacket. That's probably helpful. And also, yeah. So if you're going in the winter, head torch is very, very helpful. That's it.
All right, another round of applause for Abe.